Sickle cell anemia. It is one of the type in hemolytic anemias. The history of sickle cell anemia was first explained in 1904 by a Chicago cardiologist, that is James B. Herrick. The disease was named by Vernon Mason in 1922. So, what is the definition of sickle cell anemia? It is an autosomal recessive disorder in which a normal adult hemoglobin is partly or completely replaced by an abnormal sickle hemoglobin. So, it's a genetic disorder where an adult normal hemoglobin is replaced by an abnormal sickle hemoglobin. You can see the difference between a sickle cell and a normal RBCs, which I have put it in this diagram. Sickle cell has a crescent shape, whereas RBC has a round shape. So the incidence of the sickle cell anemia is mostly seen in African descendant, Mediterranean area, Middle East area and Aboriginal tribes in India. There are different types of hemoglobin. HbA is adult hemoglobin, HbF is fetal hemoglobin, HbS is sickle hemoglobin, HbC is abnormal hemoglobin. What is the difference between a normal RBC and a sickled RBCs? The RBCs has 120 days of lifespan and it has a normal oxygen carrying capacity, and the hemoglobin level is 12 to 14 gram in a normal RBC cells. Whereas in sickled RBC, the lifespan of the sickle cell is 30 to 40 days, so they get destructed so easily comparing to RBCs, and they has a very less hemoglobin carrying capacity. So the patient will show signs of anemia and they will have lack of oxygen, and 6 to 9 gram of hemoglobin is seen in a RBC. So comparing to a normal RBCs, the sickle cell has almost half of the hemoglobin only. So what are the types of sickle cell disease? The sickle cell disease, that is SCD, is classified as hemoglobin SS when the patient inherits copies of hemoglobin S gene from both the parent, which is the most severe form of disease. That is HbS and HbS causing hemoglobin SS disease. The other one is HbSC disease. It occurs when the patient inherits hemoglobin C gene from one parent and S from other parent. So patient will have an abnormal gene and a sickle hemoglobin from the other parent, causing anemia but less severe comparing to HbSS disease. There is another two sickle cell type which is linked with the thalassemia. That is hemoglobin sickle cell beta thalassemia and hemoglobin sickle cell with beta 0 thalassemia. So what is beta 0 thalassemia is the patient will have no normal cells at all. That is called hemoglobin sickle cell beta thalassemia. That's why it is called 0. There is another type called sickle cell triad. So here the patient will not show any signs and symptoms of sickle cell disease, but they will have a gene which is inherited from one of the parent. That is called sickle cell trait. So they may give it to their generation also, but they may not have the disease, but they may have the trait in their gene which can be given to the next generation. The pathophysiology. So normally the sickle cell will look like a RBCs, our normal RBCs, but in the presence of less oxygen, it turns into a sickled RBC. So the normal RBCs will turn into a sickle cell RBCs in the absence of oxygen or when there is a decreased oxygen level in the blood. So what happens? This sickled RBCs will cling to the blood vessels and blocks, causing stasis. So when there is stasis, there is decreased oxygen supply to the tissue, causing hypoxia and vaso-occlusive crisis where the blood vessels blocks and there are a lot of other problems comes and there is possibility of organ damage also. So this is the pathophysiology. What happens here? You can see a normal RBC which is running here. Suddenly when there is decreased oxygen, it changes its shape into a sickled cell, that is crescent shape. So a blood vessel can easily clogged by the sickled cell, that is crescent shaped cell, causing decreased oxygen supply to the area, causing necrosis and tissue damage. So here you can see the normal blood vessel. When there is sickle cell joins together, it almost clogs the blood vessel, causing severe pain in this patient. So what are the symptoms? If we see fatigue and decreased hemoglobin, of course the patient will show fatigue, and if you check the hemoglobin, it will be decreased. Bacterial infections, they have a high chance of getting bacterial infection, and almost all the organs will be damaged because of the sickle cell crisis, causing eye damage, bouts of pain, as I showed you that because of the sharp sickle hemoglobin, the patient may show severe pain, pulmonary and heart diseases, thrombosis in the spleen and liver. Mostly the spleen will be injured by the hemoglobin, sickled hemoglobin, which collects into the spleen and liver, causing damage to the spleen and liver, swellings and inflammation of the fingers, toes, and arthritis. So patient will have severe pain in the fingers and in the legs and in the joints. So common symptoms includes abdominal pain, bone pain, breathlessness, delayed growth. If you see the sickle cell baby or patient, they will have a delayed growth and delayed puberty. Fever, jaundice, tachycardia, and risk of infection is highly possible in these patients. So what is the diagnostic test done for this sickle cell disease? Common blood count will show the hemoglobin level is very less, and if you take a peripheral smear and see it microscopically, you can see the sickle shaped hemoglobin or abnormal hemoglobin. But if you want to confirm it, we usually do a HB electrophoresis, which confirms the diagnosis. But there is a sickling test which is done in olden days, but nowadays we are not doing it. 2 drops of sodium beta bisulfate and 1 drop of blood observed at 15 to 30 minutes, which is called sickling test, which was the confirmatory test before, but nowadays HB electrophoresis is a final confirmation. There are a lot of imaging studies done just to see how is the bone and the chest and in the gastric, the organs like liver and spleen, everything, just to confirm the diagnosis. We are doing a lot of imaging studies in this patient like chest x-ray, bone radiography, bone scan, CT and ultrasound. What are the complications? There are a lot of complications happens when the patient is on sickle cell crisis. So they may not show always the symptoms. There are mild symptoms shown always, but suddenly patient becomes very severe due to some complications like splenic sequestration, acute chest syndrome, pulmonary hypertension, cholelithiasis, ophthalmic complications like eye damage, transfusion related ulcers, leg ulcers, osteomyelitis, anemia, psychological problem, stroke, decreased immune response, congestive cardiac failure and renal failure. We will see these all things happens mostly because of the damage to the blood vessels caused by the sickle cell and decreased blood circulation. So we will see some of the important complications here. Sequestration crisis. So what is the sequestration crisis? Is pooling of sickled cell in an organ. So all these sickle cells go and get inside the organ and damage the organ. Mostly if the first organ which is affected by the sickle cell due to the sequestration is spleen. And in the adult, if we see, it affects the liver and in the lung. So mostly the pooling of the sickle cell happens in babies, the spleen, and in adults, liver and the lungs. So that is the reason patient will have severe abdominal pain, restlessness, fever, drowsiness, cold extremities. They go into a shock, hepatosplenomegaly. So the recurrence is very common. 50% cases will have a recurrence of sequestration crisis. So what is the best treatment here is just wash out with rehydration. You have to hydrate the patient with lot of fluids to just remove all the sickle cells from that area. So that is sequestration crisis. It is nothing but pooling of the sickle cell into one organ. The next is hemolytic crisis. So hemolysis means what? Death of the RBCs. As we discussed, it is usually 120 days in normal RBC, but here it is happening 30 to 40 days. So the hemolysis happens very frequently comparing to a normal person because of the short lifespan of the sickle cell. So the patient may show signs of malaria, jaundice, septicemia and G6PD syndrome. So glucose 6 phosphate deficiency may happen, septicemia, jaundice and malaria is seen in patient with hemolytic crisis. So what is hemolytic crisis? Hemolysis happens in a shorter duration comparing to the normal RBCs. So the next one is acute chest syndrome. Here you can see the lung has these many blood vessels. So it is very packed with blood vessels. So what happens when this sickle cells goes inside this? Imagine. So that is what happens in acute chest syndrome. So all these sickle cells go and plug all the lung circulation, causing rapidly decreasing in hemoglobin level. Patient will have tachycardia, fever and bilateral infiltration of lungs. Mostly the sickle cell disease patients die because of this acute chest syndrome and pulmonary hypertension. The next is pulmonary hypertension. It is the main complication of sickle cell disease. The patients are most likely to die because of pulmonary hypertension or chronic lung disease due to this acute chest syndrome. Diagnosing of pulmonary hypertension is difficult and it becomes irreversible. So what happens? We can identify it in CT chest and Doppler echocardiography, but it is very difficult to manage. So what is the preventive measures we can do? The best thing we can do is genetic counseling. You can call those people who are infected with the sickle cell trait and tell them how they can marry with a normal adult hemoglobin person so that they can reduce the hemoglobin SS disease. The next is genetic screening. You can screen those who are having high risk population people. You can screen them for this HBS trait. Testing for sickle in babies from amniotic fluid sample or fetal sample. From the womb itself you can take the blood sample and test it. Daily penicillin for newborn babies. So the best method is genetic counseling and genetic screening. What is the treatment of sickle cell anemia? So it is packed with a lot of things. If we see, the patient will show less hemoglobin, but when you give transfusions, the patients may have lot of hemolysis and patient will have severe pain. For that you have to give analgesics. The patient has immunity, less immunity, causing there is possibility of more infection, so you need to give them an antibiotics. Hydroxyurea sometimes reduces the pain on the joints. Immunization is very important. Intravenous rehydration, especially in the vaso-occlusive pain crisis, you need to treat them by giving lot of fluids and erythropoietin substitute. So these are all some of the basic treatment given for sickle cell anemia. So if we see in detail, usually patient needs a lot of oxygen support, rest, hydration, pain management, blood transfusion, antibiotics, and of course for future they may need gene therapy, folic acid supplement which is lifelong, and electrolyte replacement if needed. Pharmacological management. Hydroxyurea therapy, it reduces the pain especially in case of joints as well as in chest syndromes. Opioid analgesic like morphine, methadone can be given. Tricyclic antidepressants because patient may have severe psychological stress, So amitriptyline was helpful. Nutrients, folic acid supplement, which is lifelong they have to take. Antibiotics should be given at times to reduce them getting infections, and sildenafil to treat pulmonary hypertension. Arginine or sildenafil is the drug of choice to minimize the pulmonary hypertension. Blood transfusion. These patients will be receiving blood transfusion very frequently to replace the less hemoglobin. So urgent replacement is needed in severe anemia. So otherwise they will be having a regular follow up and they will test hemoglobin and they will be receiving blood transfusion. What has happened with this blood transfusion? The patient may have iron overload because whenever they receive blood, the RBC lifespan is very less, so they get destroyed frequently, causing, instead of 120 days, the RBCs are destroying for 30 to 40 days. So what happens, and we are giving transfusion, this may leads to iron overload, which result in liver failure. So iron chelating agents are necessary for these patients, like deferoxamine and deferiprone. These two are the iron chelating agents. It is nothing but because of this destruction of RBCs, the release of iron is more in the body. So the patient needs an iron chelating agents. So next one is erythrocytopheresis. Here they can just remove the blood which contains HbS and they replace the blood with a normal adult hemoglobin. It will temporarily relieve some signs and symptoms. So what happens? We are just exchanging the RBCs by removing the blood and giving fresh adult HbA RBCs, which is reducing the signs and symptoms. The next is vaso-occlusive crisis management. For the severe pain during the sickle cell crisis, patient will have severe pain. They need analgesics, strong or weak opioids, and hydration is necessary to reduce pain in body as well as in joints. So treatment for acute chest syndrome, as we said, this sickle cell will go and clog all the blood vessels in the lung tissue, causing infiltration. So this is treated by relieving the pain, incentive spirometry, antibiotics, antiviral in some cases, transfusions, bronchodilators, and oxygen supplement. The stem cell transplantation is a newer therapy done, which is along with the gene therapy. What they do, they donate bone marrow stem cells, which are normal one, injected into the vein, and this bone marrow will start producing normal hemoglobins, which reduces the HbS, that is sickled hemoglobin. This is done temporarily to reduce the symptoms, especially in the children. So we have discussed what is hemoglobin, sickle cell hemoglobin, and what is the history behind it, and the types of sickle cell disease, what is sickle cell trait, what is the difference between RBC and a sickled cell, how we diagnose it, and what are all the signs and symptoms, what are the complications, which is very, very important. You should know, like sequestration crisis, hemolytic crisis, vaso-occlusive crisis, acute chest syndrome, pulmonary hypertension. So these are all the very important complications and how to treat this complication. And the prevention is mainly done by genetic counseling and genetic screening. So what is the nursing management? The patient is going to suffer with lot of problems. So of course the list of diagnosis lengthens as per the patient's problem. So but we will focus on the important prioritized diagnosis here. Acute pain, because when the patient comes with an vaso-occlusive crisis, patient will have severe pain and ineffective breathing pattern and impaired gas exchange because of acute chest syndrome and pulmonary hypertension. Ineffective tissue perfusion, because of this occlusion by the sickle cells, the patient will not get enough tissue perfusion. Risk for impaired skin integrity. The patient's joints and the skin will get impaired because of decreased oxygen supply. Risk for injury. Risk for decreased cardiac output. This patient has a high risk of getting congestive cardiac failure. So there is possibility of decreased cardiac output and altered renal perfusion. So these are all the nursing management. Hope you understood.